Hi guys, so I'm putting this clip in before the video. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the death of Amy Lee Fisher. She died last week, and you know, she was a part of the EDS community. I've known her for years. It's really hard when we lose one of our own, and you know, we've lost so many people over the past few years since, you know, I've been a part of this community, and every time it hits really hard, especially when it's somebody that's well known, like Jackie and now Amy. So my heart goes out to all of you guys who are grieving as well, and especially Amy's close friends and family, and Tom. So Amy, this one's for you. Just know that we all love you, and we're never gonna forget all that you did for us. All right, so here's the video, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is gonna be something that I've never done before. I've never done any sort of like reaction videos, but I saw my friend Izzy do something like this a long time ago, and it inspired me. So today I'm gonna be reacting to the Ehlers Danlos syndrome and POTS episode on Casualty. Originally, I was going to react to the Grey's Anatomy episode, which I think I still might at some point, but I've seen that episode several times, and I've watched almost all of Grey's Anatomy, so when I found out that there was an episode of Casualty, I wanted to react to that because I've never seen that before. I've never even watched the show Casualty, so I think it'll be a really good show to review, and I can give you kind of my initial thoughts versus something that I've already seen multiple times and just kind of telling you my opinion. So for those of you guys who are new to my channel, or this is the very first video of mine that you're seeing, hi, my name is Mickey, I'm 20 years old, and I have Ehlers Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, and that's kind of all I'm going to go into right now. I'll give you more context kind of like as I'm talking about it in the video, but I will link a video up here specifically about EDS and, you know, explaining more about how it affects me and all that other stuff if you're interested. Alright, let's get started.
Schwartz, 22. She felt dizzy and collapsed from a standing position. She got a nice...
How did you fall, Neve? I don't really know. I felt a bit lightheaded, stumbled, and down I went. Landed right on my shoulder.
You know.
Okay, I'm going to send you for an x-ray. Fingers crossed your shoulder's not fractured, because if it is just a dislocation, I can just pop it back in place today. And I will need to do some tests just to check why you went dizzy. I almost feel my parents that they could have popped my shoulder back in. They've done it before.
Okay, so when she says, like, I could have phoned my parents, they could have popped it back in, that's what they normally do. So, I mean, for a regular person, dislocating a joint is not something that happens very often. And when they do, like, you can't just pop it back. Like, you typically go to the emergency room or to the hospital, like it. But people with Ehlers Danlos syndrome, we are so bendy and loose because the collagen that, you know, kind of acts as a glue that holds your body together is faulty. So like for me, I have classical EDS, so I have a mutation in my COL5A1 gene, which is a collagen gene that, you know, gives me all of this stuff. So she, I mean, now we're seeing like, okay, she dislocates things more often. And she also said that she was dizzy, and people with EDS can be prone to something called POTS, or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. You know, just like everything in our body is really stretchy and loose, that also means that your blood vessels are stretchy. And so when you stand up, the blood vessels in your leg, and your legs normally, you know, contract a little bit to help keep the blood in your head when you stand up. Like, it just naturally is controlled. But for people with EDS, since they're stretchy, our blood vessels can kind of expand and pool, the blood will pool in our legs and cause us to get dizzy and all of that stuff. So that's what we're seeing so far.
It's happened a few times, is it?
Only once or twice.
Okay, and do you have pain anywhere else?
My stomach hurts. I've been taking paracetamol for it.
You didn't mention that to the paramedics?
I get lots of pains.
What sort of pains, Neve?
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm going to lie you down and take a look at your stomach.
If you must.
This is definitely just a dislocation.
It always is.
With some gentle manipulation, it should be fairly easy to put back into place. I am slightly worried about your weight, so I'm going to get Louise to check your BMI. Oh, we were getting on so well. What do you mean? I thought you were better than this.
Neve, I think we're just worried.
I haven't got an eating disorder. That's what you're thinking, right? That's what you all think, but that's not me. I promise you.
Look, I wouldn't be doing my job if
Everyone thinks it is, but everyone's wrong. I've been saying it for years.
Neve, I know where you're coming from. I totally get it.
You don't need to check my BMI.
Okay, so I've been there. There's a couple different reasons why people with Ehlers Danlos syndrome can be underweight. You'd be shocked how often, you know, they're treated this way by doctors. And, you know, at first glance, it's not like they're necessarily in the wrong. Like, yes, if somebody comes in and they're underweight, like you want to make sure you know why, but to immediately jump to an eating disorder, that's where it's like, First of all, there are lots of different types of EDS, and some of them can cause just a very like thin frame in general. Like I know with vascular EDS, oftentimes, you know, people are a lot thinner, but I think the biggest reason why people with EDS can be prone to, you know, being underweight is our digestive issues. So for me personally, I actually am feeding tube fed. This right here is my feeding tube, and I'll put a little picture right here. My entire GI tract is a mess, and so I can't even eat on my own. And so when my stomach first got sick, you know, I was underweight, I was sick then, I was, you know, I was really sick as well. So a lot of people, and even, you know, like I said, it's a spectrum. So obviously not everybody is feeding tube fed. In fact, I'd say even most people with EDS aren't feeding tube fed, but some can. And so, but it's really common with EDS to have, you know, a really sensitive stomach, to have, you know, just a little bit of digestive issues in general, that can cause issues gaining weight or issues with losing weight, and you know, stuff like that. So EDS can definitely cause you to be underweight, and I know a lot of people personally who have been just flat out accused of having an eating disorder because they were thin. And, you know, when the doctors don't take the time to actually, like, look a little bit further, they just see, oh, you're a teenager or a young adult, like, and you're losing a bunch of weight, it must be an eating disorder, like, it's your age, whatever. And so, let's keep watching.
The hardest thing is admitting there's a problem.
And here we go, regular as clockwork. We talk about seeing someone who can help me.
Seeing a therapist all the time. I get that. I got that a lot in the beginning, and I know, oh my goodness, so many people are like...
With my mind.
We do have people that can talk to you. If I hadn't have spoken...
Just fix my shoulder, please. Then I'll be on my way. I'm not being difficult or sarky. I just know the routine. But honestly, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Neve, look,
It's fine, okay? We don't want to upset.
okay, if you just let your shoulder drop, try and relax for me. Here,
hold my hand.
So when they put it back in, she like didn't make it straight. She just was like, a dislocation for somebody with EDS, not that it's not traumatic and like painful and whatever, but it's different than somebody else. Like, so for me personally, warning if you don't want to see an actual dislocated joint. So for instance, this is my shoulder. Here's kind of my collarbone. Here's where the ball of my shoulder sits. So I can pop it back in, falls right back out again. It just kind of hangs out of place there. So I can understand why they were surprised that they're like, you didn't feel that. And like, yes, this hurts, and putting joints back into place definitely can be really, really painful. I dislocate my hips like a couple times a day, and that is, oof, that's a mess. But I mean, a lot of us with EDS have to put ourselves back together on a daily basis. Like, I dislocate so many joints a day that if I needed somebody else to put, like if I needed a doctor to put them back in place for me, I would literally live at the hospital. Like, you just have to learn how to deal with it and put it back in. So yeah, I mean, we get pretty good at you know, dealing with dislocations and putting stuff back into place. And not that it's not painful, but you kind of just, you have to do what you have to do.
Are you okay? Yeah. Why didn't you feel that? You've got me on pain relief.
The one thing with this though is where she's like, you have me on pain relief, I don't feel it. Some people with EDS, like, their dislocations don't hurt a whole lot, but a lot of people, their dislocations do hurt, so I think that was, I mean,
Yeah, but people still usually feel something.
I'm obviously 1 in a million. Okay, you said this has happened a few times before, but there's no mention of you being admitted in your notes. My dad always used to pop it back in for me. Mum started getting squeamish after a while.
So not the once or twice like you told us earlier.
Let's just say enough times to drive him around the bend. Probably closer to 100 times. Right, so it's happened so many times that you've just got used to the pain.
yeah.
You get used to everything eventually.
Okay, I'm gonna do a repeat x-ray just to confirm the position.
That feels good. There. I confirm
We
it.
get so used to knowing where things are. I mean, when you're constantly having to keep track of like where your joints are, and like when my shoulder pops in and out all the time, like if I feel it and I move it, like if I put it back in, I could be like, yep, that's in place. And then as soon as it falls out, I'm like, no, like we can tell. So I thought that was really funny where she's like, yep, I can feel it, it's good.
I have called your GP. They're gonna arrange for someone to see you.
I said not to do that.
You shouldn't be going through this on your own.
I'm not going through anything. Stop making decisions you know nothing about. I've had this conversation with my parents 1,000,000 times. But honestly, the way you're looking at me now is how they looked at me. Can I go yet?
Neve, please.
That doesn't hurt you either. Everything hurts, every day. But trust me, it's not nearly as painful as someone not believing you.
When you fell over, you said you felt lightheaded.
So she was sitting there moving around her like moving around her thumb, which, let's see, hold on. If I pick up a cup like this bone shifts backwards, so then I'll have to sit here, click, it just clicks in the bottom. But so she was sitting there like messing with her hand, and it was obviously like not normal, like, you know, moving around a lot, and they're like, that doesn't hurt. So when she's like, everything hurts all the time, I feel that, like, my joints move around so much all the time that you have a lot of chronic pain. And so like I know before I was diagnosed and just everything hurt all the time, I was like, I didn't know why, and you know, people were like, you know, everybody was confused, and so it does get to that point where you're just like, you almost just resign yourself to the fact that, like, you know what, yeah, like, just everything hurts all the time, like, what are you gonna do? Which is why, like, once you have a diagnosis, it helps so much, because you know that you can understand it and you can know kind of how to help it, and the people around you can kind of understand and help more. But now they're gonna ask her right about her dizziness, so maybe they'll start to put together the pieces.
When you fell over, you said you felt lightheaded.
I just want to go.
I really advise that you stay here for now.
Where's my bag?
Neve, listen to us. Right, okay, no, I'm sorry, I can't let you leave. Can we get a manual BP, please?
I'm all right. It'll pass. It always does.
This looks like postural tachycardia syndrome.
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Saying big words won't keep me here.
I want you to trust me, okay?
I've been down that road.
But not with us.
You're both very...
Not with us. Sometimes people, like, sometimes I've seen doctors where, like, you get a lot of bad doctors when you, like, I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, when you see 100 doctors over your lifetime, like, chances are a couple of them are going to be bad. So, like, the more doctors you see or have to see, the more bad ones you're going to get. But I have had doctors where they're like, you know, either you're struggling with something and you go to see them, they're like, you haven't seen this with me, like, you haven't done this with me, like, trust me, like, I can do all this stuff. And it's like, rarely are they ever actually any special.
Nice. You mean well, but no one ever believes me.
We do. That is what we're trying to tell you, Neve. We absolutely believe you. Okay, this is not an eating disorder. We want to find out what it is.
You honestly just said that. Do you know how much I've wanted to hear that? You promise you really mean it?
Every word.
I told people over and over.
Well, we're listening now. BP is very low. Okay, we're going to keep you under close observation. I'm going to get a second opinion. How about that, eh? You're not what we think, and we're not what you think.
Okay, so that was very heartwarming. I am very sympathetic to her, like, relief, where it brought her to tears because somebody actually listened and said, hey, I believe you, like, I'm gonna figure out what's wrong, and like, this is real. To be validated and told, like, yes, this is real, this isn't in your head, is it can be so emotional because it's such a relief, and the longer it's been going on without, like, you know, a diagnosis, like if you've been struggling with something for years and then somebody goes like, hey, this is real, there's something wrong with you, I'm gonna find out what it is, that can be like, oh my goodness, I totally understand. I've done the exact same thing. Like when I got diagnosed with EDS, actually when I got diagnosed with EDS, it wasn't like, oh, that's what's wrong, finally. I was actually like, no I don't, no I don't, I refuse, I don't believe that, I refuse. But other conditions that I have, my shoulder normally falls out backwards or forwards, but I put my arm here and it there we go. Like when I had my stomach stuff diagnosed, I was losing weight. Like I would be throwing up like all the time when I couldn't eat. I was in so much pain, and so when I finally had testing and got my diagnosis, I was like, I wanted to cry because I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like there's something actually wrong with my stomach, and to have like validation from people and just to know that somebody else cares, like, because I mean, when you're sick, you need doctors to help you. You rely on them to, I mean, in some cases, survive. Like, I would not be here without doctors today. And so, to have, like, the one person, like, the one thing that can help you actually say, okay, yeah, there's something wrong, is just, it can be very emotional. And often it takes way too long. Like, thankfully, EDS is becoming more well-known, and, you know, more doctors are aware of it and know the signs and symptoms, so they can kind of diagnose it a little bit better. But it still often takes years for somebody to get diagnosed, and they go through a lot of
Sorry, just never had anyone listen till now. I rub in Kate and school to check hypermobility.
Yeah, have you considered fibromyalgia? It's the pains, not just in the stomach, it's everywhere.
My GP put that down to rheumatism. At my age, didn't go back.
And find out if her parents have hypermobile joints. It could be something that runs in the family.
Ask if hypermobile joints run in the family. So EDS is genetic. It runs in families a lot. So like if your parents have it, there's like a 50% chance that they'll pass it on to you, whatever. So my mom actually has EDS. Not very severe, but obviously she passed it on to me. So a family history of EDS is really important when diagnosing. Not that it can't just like happen, but it's most commonly passed through families, so the family history is really important.
Okay, keep me in the loop.
So what's whatchamacallit?
It's a disorder that causes muscle pain and fatigue throughout your body. It would mean me doing a whole series of tests. Out of the frying pan, as they say. Do you remember when you first developed these symptoms?
Maybe 10 years ago?
And what about when you started losing weight?
About the same.
Okay. What is it? Neve, I want to try something else. I think we should move you to resource when there's a bed available.
You look worried.
It looks...
Sorry.
It's alright, I got this.
Okay, that's great.
Just move another finger back.
Well, it's not great, obviously. Basically your knees, elbows, thumbs, fingers, and shoulders, obviously, are hypermobile. You were right all along, it's not an eating disorder.
It's funny how they're connecting her joints to the fact that she is underweight. Like, because your joints are hypermobile, you can't have an eating disorder. I mean, I agree that's not what she has, but my brain thinks it's funny that that's how they made the connection, but...
I'm sorry that I assumed that.
Thanks.
And this is 100% honest truth.
I think you could have something called Ehlers Danlos syndrome.
No one's mentioned that before.
Well, EDS is thought to be rare, but hypermobility EDS is more common.
Hey, they got that! So EDS is considered a rare condition, but it's a lot less rare than previously thought. I mean, it's still not like common, but especially the hypermobile type of EDS they're realizing is a lot more prevalent than they realized. So I like that she said it's a lot more common than people used to think, because in the Grey's Anatomy episode he was like, this is a 1 in a million, like, you're gonna see one of these in your lifetime, like, this is an amazing 1 in a million catch, and it's like, it's really not, like, it's a lot more common than people realize, but I really like that they included that in there, so. Good job, Casualty.
But what I have, if it is definitely this, it has a name.
It does indeed.
I've got a thing.
It's not a great thing, Nave.
That's what I felt like. I was never like, oh, I have a thing. I was like, this is not a good thing to have. That was my...
No, but it's an answer. I've never had an answer.
Okay, Matty.
So there she is. She gets her answer. I liked that. I don't know if it was necessarily more accurate than the Grey's Anatomy one. It was, I mean, they're different. It was good. So yeah, for her to like finally have answers, that's awesome. And I know to be actually like diagnosed with EDS, like, so these doctors kind of like put it together and were like, hey, I think this might be what's going on. But EDS is diagnosed by like often geneticists, but it can, you know, I know sometimes rheumatologists can diagnose. Those are the two kind of like main doctors that I know of that commonly diagnose EDS. I liked that, and they put together the dizziness with the POTS, and so I have POTS as well, and you know, I talked about how that can come along with EDS. Hey guys, okay, so as I was editing this, I realized I mentioned a couple of things that I didn't think were super accurate or that I didn't like kind of throughout the video, but at the end I was just kind of like, yeah, you know, I liked it. It was emotional, it was sweet, like overall it was fine. I mean, there's only so much you can do in 7 minutes. But I wanted to kind of add in a little bit more, just because, you know, even as I'm editing it, I'm like, I mean, overall I think it was good, but I mean, it could have been better. There were some things that I didn't really think were super accurate. I mean, the biggest one being when it came to putting her shoulder back into place, like, even though we're super loose and bendy and, you know, we dislocate things a lot, it still really hurts. And so to be like, that didn't hurt you at all? No, I didn't even feel it. Like, that was not a great representation. And then when it came to POTS, so she saw her get dizzy and then she was like, I think this is POTS. And just because somebody's dizzy, like, doesn't necessarily mean they have POTS. Like, they could be dehydrated or whatever. And so, I mean, how they came to that conclusion was a little like, I mean, sure, I guess. But yeah, so I mean, it was good overall, but I just wanted to add in like those two things, because at the end I was kind of like, oh, it was really good, but there were a couple things that I was like, but okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. But yeah, I liked the kind of like emotion behind it that shows, like, it kind of shows the desperation and like just the emotional toll that being undiagnosed takes on a person. Especially like when you know, she used to fix her dislocations at home and she's like, don't worry about it, like, just let me leave, it's fine. Because you get so used to being told there's nothing wrong that you just like, you stop expecting help. And so when, you know, when she finally gets that answer, she gets somebody who takes her seriously. It's a very emotional thing, and it's like a huge weight is lifted off your shoulders. And so I really liked that they had a lot of emotion behind it. I enjoyed that. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty accurate, as you know, as accurate as you can be in 7 minutes. I mean, there's so much that they didn't cover, but like I said, it was 7 minutes. Like, you can't add everything in. So I liked what they did add in, and it was good. So, all right, yeah, I've never seen Casualty before. Apparently it's a British show or an English show, but I thought that might actually be a good thing, because this way, like, I could give an actual first impression, like seeing it for the first time and kind of giving you my thoughts, versus, you know, like I said, Grey's Anatomy I've seen many times. So, all right, well, are there any other shows that feature EDS or POTS or something like that you would like me to review? If so, leave them down in the comments and I'll be sure to do so. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. I don't really know how this is gonna work out. Hopefully I can even manage to like edit it all in here, because that seems complicated, but hopefully I did and you're seeing this. So, all right guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on the TikTok, which I now have and people are watching. Was it focusing? What am I doing?